This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today we're talking with Robert Lane, Vice President of Product Innovation at Wabash. Robert, thanks for taking the time to connect.
Thank you, Jason.
Hey, I'm really excited to talk with you because a lot of sustainability conversation going on right now, and clearly the trailer is an important component of the tractor-trailer solution as we move toward greater decarbonization and sustainability equipment strategies. So let's just kick it off there. What role are trailers playing in sustainability efforts right now?
And I think if you look at, you can look at it in two ways. The first is if you look at the dry van and really the refrigerated side of the market, both weight is important. From a sustainability standpoint, either I can put more weight, more freight in the trailer,
Right.
or I'm just pulling less weight down the road, which does save or improve fuel economy. But from a refrigerated standpoint, I think the thermal performance of the box is critical when we start looking at the electric TRU, or even if we're looking at a diesel TRU. If I have a better thermal performance, I'm going to use less energy. And for a diesel powered system, it is diesel that is providing the power. But for battery, even more important for the battery power, it is the size of the battery that we can impact with better thermal performance.
Yeah, two really interesting things you point out there too, and I think this gets lost in the decarbonization conversation sometimes. But you mentioned the weight and lightweighting of trailers and how it relates to efficiency, right? And fuel efficiency has long been in the wheelhouse of fleet operations, of driving more productive and efficient equipment, right? That counts for decarbonization. You burn less fuel than you did last year. That's a win. That's the direction we want to go, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And then you mentioned, of course, the refrigerated segment there. A question on that too. We've talked with a number of TRU manufacturers. Is that relationship deepening on your end with them, or even in any other segments where you have, component data or even tractor OEMs? Are you starting to have more relationships within the industry to bring these sustainability solutions to the market?
Oh, absolutely. And as a trailer OE, typically the TRU companies are selling direct to the customer. So our relationship has been not really hands off, but pretty far. It has never been a close relationship where we collaborate a lot, but we are starting to have conversations as we really get into the electric TRU world. They know we're an important part of the entire system, and they're actually sharing what they're working on. I've been able to visit both Thermo King and Carrier last year to see what they're doing on the electrification side, and then show them what we're doing with our thermal technology as well. So it is definitely more of a collaborative relationship than it has been in the past, and really out of necessity, because it is a system. When we talk about a refrigerated transportation, it's a system and it's not a single component.
Right. Can you tell me a little bit about that thermal efficiency's role in those conversations, especially as we move to electric TRUs? I mean, thermal efficiency is something that we've always talked about. You want to save you want to save on diesel when you're running the current reefer units. But what does that mean in an all-electric world? What important role does that play? Is there more importance placed on it because you're using battery power now? How does that work?
Oh, absolutely. It's more important because the range anxiety that the customer is going to feel, that the carrier is going to feel when they're on electric power. And if you look in California, they're not going to be able to have a diesel backup.
Right.
So that range anxiety is real. So better thermal performance means less energy required to maintain temperature. And it is a simple heat in, heat out equation. The more heat that comes into the box through the box itself, through its insulation, the more heat that I have to remove with the TRU. So the less heat that goes in, meaning the better thermal performance, the less that TRU is going to have to work. And the only way it works is by consuming energy, and it gets that power through from a battery in an electric TRU. So if I am less thermally efficient, I have to have a bigger battery, or my range is going to get significantly less. So that's why we continue to push for better thermal performance, whether it's through construction materials or construction itself. And we've got to continue to improve the thermal performance of the box because it is a critical part of the entire system.
For sure, especially when you look at something like truck body applications, right? Too, where we're kind of right now in the market, truck body applications with the TRU, they're using a electric power takeoff in a lot of ways to power that electric reefer unit. So you want to make sure the body is thermally efficient there. On the trailer side, I know it's early days. There's a lot of testing insofar as electrified wheel ends or not e-axles, but kind of suspension systems on the trailers and axle systems on the trailers that can help generate some electric power and power some batteries on the trailer there. So maintaining that efficiency and being able to, yeah, to your point, not even just range anxiety, but runtime anxiety might be a thing with some of the TRUs, right? You need enough
Yeah.
runtime depending on them.
Yeah, and that's so when we look at I say range, it is that what is the range of my unit, and what's how long am
Right,
I going to be able to run that TRU?
right.
And you mentioned a good point with when you if you're looking at the powered hubs or you're looking at solar power, it's converting waste energy from the system into power, and that's what we've got to continue to find ways to convert that potential energy from the system as it goes down the road into power to charge the battery. And there's a lot of research going on in that where we are seeing a lot of work that's being done, and you'll start to see more technologies come into the trailer and the truck body marketplace that are going to convert that waste energy into power to charge that battery.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because I know that at least on the trailer side too, the idea of innovation there it could be overlooked in that segment. And like you said, there's a lot of real estate on there. Solar is super interesting. I know it's early days there, still a lot of development going on. As you bring these to market, right, or even as you look to develop them, whether it's making sure you have the thermal efficiency for the reefer units or even some of the other applications that might help power batteries across the equipment. What role do you have as the manufacturer working with the customers to make sure that fleets are able to put these zero emissions or sustainable equipment into their fleets? And what kind of guidance do you provide to them on where they should look at? Because a lot of these technologies, they're new. It's a lot of testing, right? You want to make sure it can hit the application. How can fleets work with you to kind of plan a roadmap for their sustainability equipment strategy on the trailer end?
Yeah, and that for us that is extremely important is to get the customer involved, and we have key customers that are, let's call them, more innovative, but they're able to take risks, a little bit more risk, and they're willing to be the first to market. And it is working with those customers to get the technology introduced. And you're going to have hiccups. We're never going to be able to test in the lab for the real world, so we're going to find the issues. The operational issues when they're in the field. So you've got to have a customer who's willing to work with you, and that's just sitting down and having an open dialogue with them at the beginning, and they're part of the development process. And this industry is fortunate that we have customers who've done this for years. I mean, most of the fleet started out with an owner who's actually driving the truck, so they know this from the ground up and they understand how to make advances in it. And it's one of the beauties of this industry is we're dealing with people who they are risk takers, but they're risk takers within the parameters of their operation. And it's no doubt they're hesitant to change, and it's because they have hundreds or thousands of pieces of equipment in the fleet. And when you introduce one odd duck into that fleet, it can upset their operations. So you have to partner with them, and they've got to go in understanding the technology and understanding what some of the issues might be. And it is a partnership as we try to introduce the technology.
Right, right. Well, I love that point too, because I think trucking can get overshadowed sometimes insofar as being a technology forward industry, right? We're leading in a lot of ways that maybe we don't get credit for because the stakes are high. Things have to get places, right? Goods have to move across the country.
Yeah.
We want to do that in a more sustainable way. And I know you were out at ACT Expo recently as well, and there's no shortage of solutions and ideas out there. It's just figuring out how to put them in place, like you said.
Right, and they've got to be cost effective, and that is always the hard part with moving technology into an industry where the margins are tight. And
Right,
it's going to continue to be the challenge is how can we do it in a way that it does not doesn't present a negative to our customer. And regulation is going to force a lot of things to happen, and it's our job as the supplier in the industry to try and help the customer make it cost effective. And that's where we as an industry we're going to spend a lot of time there.
Right. Well, Robert, I appreciate you having an open dialogue with me so that I can better understand what's happening in the trailer world to bring these sustainable solutions to market. I'm sure as you continue to develop them, we'll talk to you again soon. I appreciate you taking the time.
Great. Thank you very much, Jason.